Good day, students. Today we'll be talking about keyboard setting. And from our previous lessons, we talked about scale, and we'll still try to talk about it today. Talk about the scale of C, scale of G, and some musical terms expression, which was the last one. So today we'll be dealing with keyboard setting. What you're seeing on my hand is the melodium. As you can see, it is built up with a set of white and black teeth. This is an example of the keyboard. The piano also is an example of a keyboard. Now the question is, what is a keyboard? A keyboard is an instrument that is built or arranged in a set of white and black teeth or black notes. In our textbook, what we have in our textbook, it says the keyboard is an arrangement of white and black notes. That is how the keyboard is being defined. Now, an example of the keyboard is the one which I'm holding in my hand here, which is the melodium. We have the accordion also. We have an organ and also the piano. These instruments I just mentioned, they are all built up in a set of white and blacks. So those are the examples of the keyboard. Now talking about the keyboard, like we treated in our scale, from the first end of our keyboard, you see we have C here. Like I said, if you look at the keyboard, it's arranged in set of 2s and 3 blacks. Now, the white key before the set of 2 black is known as key C, like we've been talking about before. And C has its own scale. We also treated the key of G. G is found immediately after the first set of 3. That's the first note, and you have your G there. That's it. So now we'll be talking about the natural semitones that are found on the keyboard. The natural semitones found on the keyboard, they are found between B and C and E and F. If you must have been following our class, previous classes, you will get to understand that between B and C, E and F, there is no note separating them. That is why they are called the natural semitone. That's why they are called the natural semitone. B and C, E and F. Of all the scales of the keys, B and C, E and F are always together. Anything separating them is going to be a note in between. But if you look at the keyboard like this, you see there is nothing separating them. That's why it is termed the natural semitone. That's why it's termed the natural semitone. Now back to the keyboard. If you're seeing the keyboard or this with what I'm holding in my hands here, the white key is known as the natural note. The white key is known as the natural note. The white key is known as the natural note. Then the black keys are known as the sharp or flat. The black keys are known as the sharp or flat. Like I said, the black keys are known as the sharp or flat. You'll get to understand this better when we start treating accidentals. So, now let's get over to accidentals. What is accidental, or what is an accidental? An accidental is used by music composers to do 5 different things. They are used by music composers to do 5 different things. One of it is to raise. One is to raise. One of it is to raise, ISE. One is to raise, or you call it increase, while the other is to decrease, and also to restore. Alright, they are to do 3 things. That's the function of the accidental, to do 3 things for the musical note. Or they are being used by composers to increase or to raise, to decrease or to lower, and also to restore the pitch of certain notes. That is what the accidental does. Now there are 5 accidentals. What are these 5 accidentals? One of it is the sharp sign, which functions as raising or increasing the pitch of notes by a semitone. It raises or increases a note by a semitone. We've talked about semitone in our previous classes. What's a semitone? A semitone is the smallest distance between two notes. The smallest distance between two notes. Okay, let's look at it this way. Between this note and this note is a semitone. In other words, if you look at it here, this is C, and this is another note up here. This note is known as C sharp. So between two of them is a semitone because there is nothing separating them. That is what the sharp does. Then the next one we're going to be looking at is the flat. The flat. The flat lowers or decreases a note by semitone. The flat decreases or lowers a note by semitone. In other words, it means going backwards on the keyboard or going backwards on any musical instrument you're playing. Don't forget the sharp raises. In other words, you're going forward. And it's done by semitone. Same thing with the flat. The flat is done by what? A semitone. The next accidental we'll be looking at is the double sharp. The double sharp. The double sharp. The sign for it is X. And not writing too sharp. This is totally wrong. So the sign for double sharp is X. Now, as the name implies, double sharp, that means it raises a note, not by a semitone, but by a tone. It raises a note by what? A tone. I've explained what a tone is in our previous classes, but I would still like to talk about it. A tone is the largest distance between two notes. I will still go back to what I have. This is C, and this is C sharp, and it's a semitone. So between C, C sharp, and there is a D, which is another note down here. So between C and D is a tone. So if I have the sign X before the C, it means I shouldn't play C, but I should play the next note from a tone from C. The next note, a tone from C. So that means I will be playing D and not C because of the sign, because of the double sharp sign. So the double sharp, it tells us that that note is being raised by a tone. The next accidental we'll be considering is the double flat. The double flat. As the name also implies, we know the single flat here, it lowers by a semitone. So the double sharp will do what? Increase. Increase by what? The double flat will decrease. The double flat decreases by what? A tone. That means it decreased the note by a tone. Double flat. The double flat decreases a note by what? A tone. So in other words, if the sign is placed before a note, it means that note should not be played, but the note before it, that means tone from that note backwards, should be played. Let's look at it this way. If the double flat is placed on C, because I've used C before for the double sharp, if it's placed on C, it means don't play C. That means you should play a tone backwards from C. That is telling you this is the note closer to C, which is B. And before B, we have a note here. And this is the note, this is A sharp. This is A sharp. Is what? A sharp. So you're not to play C, but you're to play A sharp. That is if the sign is placed on C. That is double flat. It is placed on C. Then the last but not the least is the natural. This is called the natural. Now, of all the accidental signs, this one does a separate function. What this one does is far different from every other sign. This one brings back the note to its original pitch. In other words, it tells you play that note the way it is. Play that note the way it is. I am going to be explaining this also using the staff, so that you will understand it in case you're seeing it in any musical piece that you are having, or anyone you come in contact with. Now, this natural tells us go back to the original note. If it's C, it will place on C, say play the C the way it is. If it's D, it's saying play D the way it is. If it's G sharp, it says play G sharp the way it is. So the natural does what? It restores. The natural restores the pitch what? Of a note. The natural restores the pitch of the note. Alright, let's look at it using the staff. Now if you look at my staff here, this is a treble staff. Like I said in one of our classes, that the essence of why the staff is counted from the bottom to the top is because the notes are arranged according to their pitch. And remember, we have a ledger line, and the essence of the ledger line is to accommodate other notes that will not contain the staff. And once there's a ledger line and there's no key signature of the staff, automatically that staff becomes the key of what? C. But once there's a key signature placed on the staff, it's a different key entirely. Alright, so now let's look at the first bar of the staff. What we have in the first bar of the staff is a sharp sign. What we have in the first bar of the staff is a sharp sign. This sharp sign comes before the note. So if you're looking at the note here, this note is a crochet. It has one beat. Alright, let's take it that we're working on the key of C. So this is C, D, E, F, and G. The sharp sign is placed on the line G. And for the key of C, G is So. G is what? So. And now it has a sharp sign here. What is the function of this sharp sign to this note now? It tells you that this note should be raised by a semitone. Now you're not playing the exact note on your keyboard, but you're playing the note after that note on your keyboard. Now let's look at it this way. We all know this is my C. And here we have the sharp sign is on G. This is G, which is the sharp sign. Now it's the sharp sign is placed here. It says don't play this, because the sharp sign raises a note by a semitone. So you're leaving G, playing the note on top of it, which is G sharp. You're leaving G, playing the note on top of it, that is G sharp. That's what this sharp sign does to the note. And for every staff that has a sign before the note itself, it's telling you that sign should work with that note. Alright, so if you have an understanding of this, let's move over to the next one, which is the flat. Now what the flat does is it lowers or reduces a note by a semitone. Now if you look at it here, this is placed on the line B. Every good boy deserves favor. Now it's placed on the line B. What is B on the key of C? B on the key of C is T. For those of us that might have forgotten, let's make it. Let's refresh it. C becomes Do, D becomes Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Ti, and Do. It continues anyway. So since the flat sign is placed on B, it's telling you don't play B. It's telling you don't play B. It's on the staff, remember. Don't play B. But the sharp sign has reduced, the flat sign has reduced this by a semitone. In other words, you have to play the note on top of it, which is A sharp. A sharp. Which is what? A sharp. So you're not playing B because the flat sign has been placed on it. Now the next one we'll be talking about is the double sharp. The double sharp. The double sharp. We all know the double sharp increases the note by a tone. Now it is placed on A, the space, which is the second space, which is A. Let's go back to our keyboard. A is La. A is what? La. Now the La has the double sharp, which is X. It's telling you don't play this note. But what will you play? You're going to play a tone from A, which means 1, 2. So you're going to play B instead of A because of this double sharp sign. The next one we'll be looking at is the double flat. The double flat is placed on the third space, which is C. And now he's telling you, don't play C, but it should be reduced by a tone. So if, for instance, this is the C, and the double flat is placed, of course, that is where it is on the staff. C, and this is it on the staff. So he's saying, don't play this, but it should be reduced by what? By what? A tone. That means it's going to be 1, 2, because reducing it once is a semitone, and 2 semitone gives us 1 tone. So reducing it 1 and then getting back here, which is A sharp. So you're not playing C on the staff, but you're playing A sharp. But you're playing A sharp, which is what you have here. So if you have your keyboard or your melodeon with you, this is where it is placed, the double sharp sign. So you're not playing this, but you're playing A sharp. This is A sharp. So finally, which is the natural. Like I said, the natural restores. It restores the pitch of note. That is why you see in a staff where you have a sharp sign, a flat sign, a double sharp, a double flat, and same line you find this, which is the restore. It's telling you, ignore all this, or ignore what is at the beginning of that line of the note, and play it the way it is. That means play that note the way it is, just like we have here. It's telling us that we should play A the way it is. Okay, look at it now. You see, since this X is here, every other note we are going to be playing should obey this. Every note we are going to be playing on this space should obey this. But since the natural is now placed here, it's telling you that play A the way it is. Play A the way it what? The way it is. That means you should play La itself. You should play what? La itself. That means you should play La itself. So this is A. That means you should play La itself. Because why? The natural sign is being added to it. And on the staff, or inside the staff, the accidentals comes before the note and not after the note. There is a difference between accidental and key signature. There is a difference between accidental and key signature. The difference between the accidental and the key signature is that the key signature is placed immediately after the clef sign, but the accidentals are placed inside the staff, same alongside with what? The notes. I go again. The key signature is placed immediately after the staff, immediately after the clef sign, but the accidentals are placed inside the staff alongside with the notes. If you will have any question, use the comment box and I will visit it later and then to respond to your question. Alright, so now having said all this, we will be going to talk about, we'll be talking about the enharmonic notes. Talking about enharmonic notes. Enharmonic notes are notes that sound alike but are spelled differently. As you can see on our keyboard, which is on the board, we have C, D, E, F, and down to C. Now, they sound alike but spelled differently. This is the reason. We have C here, semitone forward. We have C sharp. Now, C sharp can be called another name. Another name for C sharp is D flat. That's why it's having the little B you're seeing on top of it, D and the flat. Remember the function of the flat sign. And we have C sharp. Remember the function of the sharp sign. The sharp sign tells you that the C has been raised by the semitone. Then the D flat tells you D as a key has been lowered by the semitone. And lowering D as with the semitone is getting you to C sharp. So the enharmonic note for D flat is C sharp. The enharmonic note for D flat is C sharp. Now, getting to D, if you look on top of it, you see our black keys. Our black keys are the ones carrying the sharp and the flat. That's why it's called sharp and flat notes. If you look at D, we have D here. Moving forward, you have D sharp. Then a tone from D gives you E. Going backward using the flat gives you the same D sharp. So the enharmonic note for E flat is D sharp. So if you get your notes, enharmonic note, the enharmonic note. Now the enharmonic note for D flat is C sharp. The enharmonic note for E flat is D sharp. The enharmonic note for G flat is F sharp. And the enharmonic note for A flat is G sharp. Then the enharmonic note for B flat is A sharp. So if you count these things you're seeing, you see they are just 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's where you see that the keyboard is arranged in sets of 2 blacks and 3 blacks. That's what you're seeing here, 2 and 3. So these 5 notes are known as accidentals or enharmonic notes when they are being sounded. So with this, we'll come to the end of our lecture. Like I said, if you have any questions, use the comments and I will respond to questions. Try to make sure you do the assignments and classroom and get prepared.